All right, all right. This is Hedora Talks, where we slice off one topic and two more take its place. I'm here with Dad the OG. Say hello.
Hey man. Hey everybody.
So, for this episode, we're gonna we're gonna talk about Parasyte The Maxim. I actually watched the first 5 episodes today, pretty much back to back. I took a small break between episodes 3 and 4, but other than that, I watched them back to back for the most part, and we got a lot to go over. We got a lot to go over, and
Yeah.
so I got my notes here. You know, I got the different talking points separated by episode. Um, bear in mind, some notes further down are probably going to override notes that were written earlier, just simply because they ended up answering a question in a later episode, or something like that.
Uh-huh.
So, episode 1, the opening, first 30 seconds, a woman gets demigorgoned.
Yeah,
and,
I remember you had said that. I was
and,
like,
and,
what it means, what it means.
and what I mean is, because Gary, you've watched Stranger Things, so you know what a demigorgon is.
Right.
Okay, and you know that their head is it's like a flower, right?
Okay, yeah.
First 30 seconds. I was not expecting that. I did not have that on the board for what happens in the first 30 seconds. Like, it literally, starts up, girl talking, there's a dude standing there, acting kind of weird. All of a sudden, his face just splits open like a demigorgon, and he just takes her head off. And then it just goes into the actual intro. And I'm just like, my God. We're just getting right to it. We're no build up, nothing. We're not even going to show
Nothing.
where these things came from. Just they're here. They're already here.
Diving right in. Yeah.
Like, okay, all right. Waste time, we shall not.
Yeah, no. The Maxim really jumped right into it. Parasyte The Maxim, sorry.
So yeah, it's bloody. Love that. I love me some bloody anime. Okay, so yeah, and now next, this triggered my paranoia for when I'm asleep, because there are times where my ear will itch, and it'll freak me the fuck out for like a second, thinking that it was like a bug or something, because we've seen it happen. I had a roommate actually back in the day. Roach ended up in her ear, not just chilling on the outside of it. No, in her canal. Okay, I seen a video of a guy that had a spider in his ear canal. Okay, so when I see this parasite going for his fucking ear while he's sleeping, I'm just like, oh God. Oh, I'm not gonna be able to sleep tonight seeing that.
Yeah, that definitely gives you the
The heebie-jeebies.
Yeah. Yeah, that one was
All right.
that beginning and where that, Parasite, how it comes in, and yeah, that one was like, all right, well, if I ever have a tingle in my arm, let me make sure I have a tourniquet nearby.
Right. That's literally the only thing that saved him.
Yeah.
Well, that and the fact that he had an earbud in, so it couldn't. It had to try to go through his nose, and he sneezed it back out because it woke him up.
Right.
It's like, I don't know if I'd be that lucky though.
Yeah, that, I mean, he definitely got lucky there.
Yeah, and then so I'm guessing the superhuman strength is only how the fuck is that working? Like, he seems to have, because he stops a car. He stops a car with one hand. So I'm like, okay, superhero strength. Is this like maybe a superhero type show? Well, got to episode 5, so I'm gonna say no, not really. So they yeah, and so that was we're gonna have to go into a little bit of that later, like a little more into that later, because there's something else that kind of goes along with that. But it was just that was my thought when he did that. Was like, okay, so Parasyte gives him super strength. All right, is this an alien invasion a la the Body Snatchers?
I mean, hey, more or less, I guess, if it reaches there, right?
See, but I'm not even sure if that's what's going on, honestly. And I'm gonna get to why. And all right, so the parasites have to. Okay, so Migi ate his hand.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Migi burrowed into his hand, and then basically replaced his hand at the same time he was eating it, I'm guessing, right?
More or less, yeah.
Okay. Because that kind of contradicts what we see later with the people in the car.
So he sort of fuses with his hand. Now, the parasites, right, for all intents and purposes, they live off of a host, right? That's what a parasite is. So these ones, their goal is to get in the host and take over the brain, sort of similar to that fungi
Last
that
of
does it
Us.
with ants. Well,
Well,
that's the real life one that we have with
yeah.
ants and spiders. That one. So and he needs to get in the brain of the host and take over. From there, they actually take over the host. However, as you saw, Miggy didn't get into his brain. He has his hand, so he has control over the hand, so to speak.
Yes. Yes. And can they just, like, do they have, like, omni shape-shifting abilities? Because he wakes up, and Migi has sprouted feathered wings, and then at one point he changes into a full-on fish, and it's like, I don't know, it's like, so could Migi turn himself into, like, a large bladed, I mean, he can extend himself with blades on the ends, but could he, like, turn his entirety into just one giant-ass blade? You know, or...
Miggy himself, yeah. But he can't do anything really with the rest of the body unless he is able to get into that portion of the body.
Okay. Okay, because then the next thing I have here is masturbate with left hand or no. Because again, if he can sprout feathered wings like a swan or turn into a full-on fish, I'm just like, fleshlight?
Yeah, I don't know. I think that might be an awkward situation in which that whole process might now be out of the window.
Well, that's why I asked, like, does he have to just resort to his left hand? And I don't know if it's completely out the fucking window, because Migi actually touches upon that later. Okay, when he goes to the bathroom. Like, he has control over his bodily functions, and that includes erections and whatnot. So... But then that kind of contradicts another parasite that was like, he went from the girl to the dude, and then he was walking. He's like, these sex organs, like they're different. I don't really know how to control them, like I did with the female. He said something like that. So, so I'm a little unclear on, like, okay, what can the parasites control and what they cannot? Because look at the dog. That one only transformed the head of the dog. The rest of the body was a normal dog. So it's like that's why I'm a little confused on, okay, what is the range and parameters of the parasite's abilities once they have control?
So I mean, once they have control, I think it just depends on the parasite and what the host is. I'm guessing, because most of them that we see, once they got into the brain, they've controlled over, and that's a person though. So
yeah, like because it was mentioned that with the dog in particular, it's like, oh, you only got his hand, oh, you failed. Just like I was only able to get this dog, which means I failed. And I'm like, so it's like, that's why I was like, huh, like, does it really matter that much? So, okay. The music is dubstep or glitch. I love it.
yeah, kind of. I think, and I do want to say that this came out maybe 15, maybe 12 years ago. So, I think it was, that was the more popular time frame for dubstep.
Okay, yeah. It was just, I wasn't expecting it, like, I was not, like, it was like it was gearing up for a fight, and then it started playing dubstep. I'm just like, whoa, we got some dubstep playing right now? Like, oh, is that glitch? Like, oh, okay, alright, kudos. Because, I don't know, you don't hear dubstep in anime a lot, very often, so it was kind of refreshing in that matter. And then...
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, and I was just gonna say, and then Migi sometimes looks like one of the aliens from that Disney movie Can of Worms from back in the day. Look it up. Look up Can of Worms, and I'm sure you'll identify immediately which one I'm referring to.
Well, yes, he does. times.
Yeah, so I thought that was kind of funny, and it kind of made me wonder if, like, whoever designed this, whoever, what was the author, or whatever, of the manga, when they were coming up with the character designs, if they were like a fan of that movie or something. I don't know. I mean, Disney's in Japan, so. But yeah, so those are all my notes from episode 1. Like, not a lot happened, so. And then we get into episode 2. I think this was the guy that was with Tamiya, where like he was walking with some lady, and then they were approached by some thugs, and then he killed the thugs, but then I guess he killed the chick too because she watched him kill the thugs. And so I'm just like, okay, so are there other hero parasites? But then I wouldn't really call anything about Migi heroic. Like, he says it straight up. I only care about my life.
Yeah, I mean, the type of organism that we see that he is, I believe, like, it's sort of ingrained for him to sort of take care of himself, right? Worry about himself only, really.
Right, he only cares about Shinichi because Shinichi is his host.
Right, and survival, right? That survival is prime instinct number 1 for the parasite. So
yeah,
I don't know that he is like maliciously stating that. I think that's just like a primitive, sort of instinctual action in response for him.
He's amoral. He's not good and he's not bad.
Right.
Or he's literally amoral. So,
but I think that, and maybe not to give too much away, but I do think we see some character development from both Shinichi and Migi.
Okay.
Sort of it's sort of like a circle effect that you'll see.
Okay. Yeah, it's just when we first see that guy, like I said, like it seemed like he was protecting the woman, but then later, well, okay, he's definitely not a fucking hero. He's definitely a quote-unquote villain. Yeah, and then well, we kind of already talked about it, but then I had whacked off by a parasite. That's probably that bathroom scene I was talking about, which I thought that was fucking funny. I was like, okay, all right. So some well-placed masturbation humor. All right, I like it. And then they eat what they possess. So, because Migi, I don't know why I said she. I think it's because of the voice. I think the voice actress for Migi is a girl. But, so I might slip up and refer to Migi as a she sometimes because of that. So, but Migi made the comment that if they possess a dog, then they will only eat dogs. So
they're same species.
Right, and I found that interesting. Like, like I didn't think that would matter. I mean, obviously I can understand why what your host is would matter. I could understand that, but I didn't think it would also matter to where it's like if you possess a human, you can't eat a dog, and if you possess a dog, you can't eat a human. I didn't think it would go that far. So I'm curious about that. They haven't really gone back to that yet. So, Migi views humans as comparable to demons. I 100% agree with that. Like people always talk about like the monsters under the bed, the monsters in the shadows, the monsters in the dark. It's like humans are the monsters when you stop and think about it. If you look at human behavior since the dawn of human, it's like humans are the monsters, not everything else. So.
Or even parasitic, if you will.
Right, absolutely. So, but I liked that. It was starting to kind of question, the nature of humans there a little bit, and I like it when things do that, because it could potentially burst some people's bubbles who want to think that humans are the best thing alive, and we're really not. We're really not. So, and then parasites can share hosts. They ran into a guy in an alleyway who wanted Migi to become his right arm and share the same host. And then A said the same thing about Tamiya later. Like, I'll have to share her host. And it's like, how is that gonna work exactly? And what happens when that does happen? And how many parasites can share one host? Like, it brings up a lot of questions for me. just on how that would work. Because obviously, within that same host, within one host, if you got multiple parasites, one of those parasites has to be the alpha. It just has to be, because they're clearly not a hive mind type of organism.
That's, I mean, some valid questions and some valid points. So I don't know that we necessarily have to have one be an alpha. While they may not be hive mind like, I don't know that one has to be an alpha. And I mean, and to the point of your question, I think later on we're going to see something where there's multiple parasites to one host. So
Okay.
that one you have to stand by. You have to stand by to see that one.
Okay. And then episode 3. So this is when we first meet Tamiya. And again, this goes back to the whole other hero parasites, because once again, like, she has a problem with sexual harassment. Like, is she good or is she bad? She says some things later that would indicate that she's bad, but then she also does and says things that indicate the opposite, maybe. Like, she's neutral at best. And I just thought that was interesting that she's like, she seemed to have an issue with being touched, or seeing a guy touch someone else, I should say. Because he didn't grope her, he groped someone else, and she just saw it happen, and then immediately confronted him about it. And if these parasites are amoral, why would Tamiya care about that kind of thing?
Yeah, so I guess this will go into the aspect of growth and development for the parasite. Is there a way forward for them that involves the host sort of rubbing off on them?
See, I want to say no very strongly, because they've said it multiple times. We eat their brains. That means the brain is gone. That person's mind is not present whatsoever. Like, the body is not going. The body's not going to isn't going to instill personality behaviors onto the parasite, right? Because
that's more of a current and live type feature, right? If they are the host's brain, then right, the feeding off, you're controlling the muscles and etc. isn't going to relay information to them. But if they are, if the eating of their brain isn't a 1 minute process, or like an instantaneous type of thing, and they're eating it over time, then I believe that could wear off on them. And in addition, right, when even for us, we eat and absorb the nutrients of what we eat, right? So
true. And I did just remember, you ever see a show called iZombie back in the day?
I think I heard of it, but
they had something in that where, like, she would eat brains because she was a zombie, and then she would take on personality traits when she would eat part of, like, pieces of it. She also worked in a morgue, so she would just, like, take a certain part of the brain, discreetly, and then eat that, and then for, like, a certain period of time, she would exhibit personality traits and memories even of that person, and she would use that to help solve crimes. So I mean, yeah, I just remembered that, so I was like, okay, so maybe that could be the case, So maybe that could be an explanation as to why. I just, with all the amorality that's being presented with these parasites, that one in particular really threw me off.
One stood out to you, huh?
Yeah, and then there was a line. It was when he was talking to his dad about a book, and Shinichi was like, "Oh, communicating with reptiles is implausible." I feel like that's going to come back later. Like, maybe not specifically with reptiles, but I feel like communicating with other life, with animals, or other types of life forms is going to come back somehow, because otherwise that's just a throwaway line, and I don't understand why it would be in there. So it's kind of like the rules of writing. If you introduce a gun in the first act, you have to use it by the end of the third act. If you make a statement saying communicating with something is impossible, well, then that must mean that it's going to turn out to be not so implausible later.
Right. I think maybe in a sense, right, that comes to fruition, or comes full circle. But yeah. Sometimes you're going to get things that are that don't come to fruition. They're a throwaway, and maybe wanting you to think on that for a little bit. Not that it'll come back, but just for a little breadcrumb.
Right.
Really no end of the trail there.
Mm.
Um, but no, that's a good point, and I think that does end up coming back around in some form or fashion.
Okay. Okay. And then Tamiya wants to blend in with human society, and she's pregnant.
Yeah.
So that's interesting because I did have some of that because that in episode 2 you see her and A and they're clearly about to have sex and I'm just like the parasites have sex. It's like I mean we don't know much about them so I guess we can't really say definitively how they reproduce, you know. But then she establishes that it's just a normal baby, so I don't understand the imperative of why her and A even attempted to do such a thing. But maybe it goes back to they ate the brains of humans and they gained some impulses. I guess I don't know. So
Right. Like I said, right? They eat the brain, maybe so. Even if they eat the brain and they become the brain, who's to say that the body itself has impulses, right? It has reactions. The previous parasite said he didn't know how to control the organisms from the previous, from one host to another.
right.
So yeah, the body's gonna have those things that can't necessarily be controlled 100%. And who's to say that they don't enjoy those things?
Right, we really can't because we really don't know shit about these organisms at this point in the show. We really don't. So, and let's be real. Migi is not the most forthcoming with information.
Oh yeah, no. Migi's gonna play really close to the vest here for a while.
Right. Because at the end of the day, like he has said multiple times, he is number one. His life is the only one that matters. So, yeah, there's that. And then we have A attack the school in broad daylight. And this is like, I think the next day after Shinichi met with him and Tamiya. And at first I thought maybe he just had, like, maybe it was just like a him problem, like he just doesn't like Miki or something. But then I thought about the previous 2 that they encountered, and it's like, so they're all the same species, but they seem to want to kill each other.
I think that's a good point. I think that the issue with yeah, I want to say that I think that the issue with Shinichi and the Migi situation is that Migi's not in control. They believe that Migi failed, right? Because he didn't control the brain of the host, and with that, and the human still being ultimately in control, I believe they find that to be a threat to their survival. And as we know, nothing is going to stand between them and their survival.
So I'm trying to piece together what the overall narrative of this is, what the end goal is, because apparently it's only one season, 24 episodes. So
Correct. It's a very
we're not really talking long form here as far as overall plot.
Nope. It's crazy. Yeah, this is really one of the ones where I found out that these things. You finish one, it sort of leaves a void there. Leaves a void.
And talking about that, I found out there's an actual condition, post-anime depression.
Oh yeah. I have suffered from that.
Hey, you know what? I did too. When I finished Sister New Devil, I actually did feel depressed because it's like I really liked those characters, and I thought, like, I found it to be a very entertaining show outside of certain obvious factors, like the story I thought was really interesting. The characters I thought were really fun. So when I finished it, I was just like, God damn it!
Right. Yeah, dude. Yeah. Yep. I totally get it. There's been a lot. I mean, I think one of the ones that was like, damn, man, I finished this was like Chumbio. and I think other delusions, I believe the full name of it is Bachumbio, the one I told you about.
Mm-hmm.
That one, I was like, gosh, I was like, wow. So this is just over forever, huh?
It's like, damn.
Yeah, ever again, huh? And
I've actually been procrastinating on finishing High School DxD because it's like I don't want to go through that just yet because I also really like these characters.
Yeah. Yep.
So okay, and then Migi made a comment about like, oh, humans are really interesting in it, in their uniqueness, in that they're the only ones that will commit suicide. Has Migi, in all of Migi's reading, Migi hasn't learned of what a lemming is?
The lemmings. I guess not.
They commit suicide all the time.
Now, is it purposeful?
I think it's typically like in certain situations, like to avoid a predator, they will just throw themselves off a cliff.
I mean, for those types of situations, are they smart enough to understand what they're doing?
Well, maybe not. Maybe not, but it was just, it was just the way Migi worded it. It was like a blanket statement. And I'm just like, well, technically. I know of one animal that can have suicidal tendencies. So,
yeah. I mean, essentially, if I think he means by the full purpose and intent portion.
Okay.
Because if we use that definition, then we will say like deers are suicidal, right? Because obviously they see a car coming, they jump right in front of it, right? So I think that the intelligence factor we have to consider.
Okay, all right. It's just like I said, it was just the way Migi worded it. I took it as it was worded, and it was worded in a very broad sense. So, all right, and then on to episode 4. I think I mentioned this before. A wants to share Tommy as host, so I don't think Tommy is going to go for that, to be honest.
I don't think so.
And then Shinichi wants to kill Tamiya. Well, Shinichi wants to kill Migi, too. But he also doesn't want to lose his right hand, so, we'll see what ends up happening with that. I feel like we are going to have some kind of turn with her. I really do. There's something about her character, and I could be wrong. I could absolutely be wrong. I've been wrong about characters before. I forget who it was. I can't think of who it was right off the top of my head, but I thought we might have had a turnaround with a certain character in Game of Thrones, and I turned out to be fucking wrong. So, Daemon in Game of Thrones. When you see after the first episode, you're gonna think, oh yeah, he's the bad guy of this show. And then as you get to know him, it's not that simple. It's actually not that simple. So, and then yeah, Tamiya will straight up eat her baby if it serves no purpose, because she was like, oh, I'll use it for an experiment, and if it has no purpose, then I will eat it. And I'm just like, shit. It's like, you're not making it easy for me to try to understand this parasite.
Yeah.
So, and then Tamiya's mother recognized her as an imposter, and then Tamiya killed her. And I thought that was interesting, because they do it again later with another character. To where it's like they're seeing something in the host's eyes. Like, and I guess. But if I'm going off of, the size of the human eye, I've been right up in someone's face before, and looking into their eyes, and I don't know if I would have been able to see red particles floating around in their eye, and then another eye appear in that. So,
is that what they said happened?
Well, that's what it showed later. It's just in this instance, Tamiya looked at her, and then was like, "Where is Tamiya?" Or Tamiya's mom looked at Tamiya, and then was like, "What did you do with Tamiya?" And I'm just like, "Oh, how did she? Did I look away and her eye twitched a certain way or something?" And that's how, so I didn't catch anything there, if there was anything there, but I just thought that was interesting, and I made a note about it. This next one was fucking funny, because this next one made me think of Rick and Morty. Shinichi yells at his mom when she walks in on him, And then later, his mom tells his dad, like, "Oh, he yelled at me," and his dad's like, "Was he spanking the monkey or something?" and I immediately thought of an episode of Rick and Morty where Morty was yelling at somebody. I think he was yelling at Jerry, at his dad. He's like, "You're really playing with fire, walking into a 14-year-old boy's room like that." So I just thought that was funny. And then episode 5. So parasites can't heal their hosts, apparently, because A got impaled through the chest, and he pretty much immediately needed to abandon that host. And I'm pretty sure that was A that we see later in the car with the couple. Maybe. I'm really not sure. And then Shinichi saves Nagai and Kana. Oh, this bitch. So, I'm sorry. To me, Kana is an example of stupidity. And she's the one that she looked into his eyes and then she saw like red particles and then she saw Migi's eye. And she then still proceeds to antagonize him. So you've picked up that there is something absolutely inhuman about this dude, and your prerogative going forward is to further antagonize him. Like, are you stupid? Like, why? Why? I don't understand that. And I'm starting to get suspicious of her. Not that she might be a parasite, per se, because the way she reacted to it, she was visibly, like, scared, initially. So, if she was also a parasite, I don't think she would have been scared at all. But I'm wondering if she's part of, like, maybe part of some organization that kind of knows what's going on, and they just hadn't picked up on Shinichi yet until right then. So, but if it's not that, then I feel like she's just kind of she's kind of stupid in that matter. Because, I'm sorry, if I look into someone's eyes and I see another eye appear in their eye, I'm booking it the fuck out of there and I am never going anywhere near them again. I will never say another word to them again. And I for damn sure am not going to follow them around and then take their picture face to face and then further antagonize them and shit. I'm not going to do it. It makes no sense to do that.
Yeah, I agree.
And then Shinichi's refusal to let Migi do his thing. And I'm referring to when they grab What's-Her-Face, and then he's just letting his ass get beat, and Migi's trying to interfere, and Migi says, it's like, depending on how far this goes, and I'm just like, Shinichi, just let Migi do his thing. But he doesn't, and then other people show up, whatever. But maybe I'm just different, I don't know. I mean, what would you do? What if that was you? Like, and you don't know that a whole ass group of other people are going to show up to basically save the day. So as far as you know, they're just going to keep wailing on you and wailing on you and wailing on you. God knows what they're going to do to the girl. Are you going to sit there and keep telling Migi to stay out of it, or are you going to let Migi do his thing?
I mean, I think you know me. I think I'm going to let Migi do his thing, man.
Right. So, like, that's where I'm at with that. So that's a little annoying. Like, he's I think, like, I don't know if he's altruistic, but maybe he is. And that altruism is really getting on my nerves. And then my next note was, Kana is trash. Because, again, like, she shows up, she knows something's off about this dude that's not human, and so, and we're almost done. I only got a couple of notes here left. But, yeah, and then Shinichi's mom.
Yeah.
I did not see that coming.
That's why I wanted to make sure. I was like, alright, I'm going to talk to him after episode 5.
Yeah, See, and I think of my mom. I was thinking of my mom the entire fucking time. So that bothered me, bro. That bothered me a lot. And I should have seen it coming because we had that flashback earlier in the episode showing how she got the scar on her arm. And, yeah, that was heartbreaking. And then the last note I got here. Shinichi stabbed. How will he survive when we've seen other hosts get impaled, just like he just did, and not survive? Where the parasite had to abandon that host. because they were not going to recover. So how is he going to survive that?
Yeah, I think that we're gonna have to watch and see, because it's definitely gonna, it's gonna be something, obviously, that we haven't seen already, because we already know that, like you said, there have been other hosts and parasites that have died because of a catastrophic injury.
Yeah, and I hope they do it correctly, because it'll really aggravate me if it turns out Miga's like, oh no, you're good, don't worry about it, I can heal you. It's like, because then it's gonna be like, well then why the fuck couldn't A heal his host? Why did that one have to ditch the girl and go to the guy? Why do you suddenly just happen to have the ability to heal your host? I don't want them to do that, because the show is very interesting. It has my attention.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
And I don't want
I
don't want there to be any missteps or stupid mistakes in the writing or any ass pulls. I don't want any of that.
Yeah. I think you'll find that this one isn't an ass pull, and it's different than most anime you see where there's a situation like this, and there's only two ways forward, right?
Mm-hmm.
We'll have to wait and see.
All right. Well, we're hitting at 36 minutes now. We're gonna go ahead and wrap it up here. OG, thank you for being on, and
Always.
we're definitely gonna continue doing this, and yeah, it's been fun. And everybody listening, I hope you guys enjoyed our little discussion. I may have seemed like I was all over the place. I'm not the most organized person when it comes to my thoughts. I even tried keeping notes, and I was still a little disorganized. So, all right. Well, good night, everybody, and we will see you next time.